all, welcome back again. So we are on the last class of our chapter on polarization. In the last class, we have discussed about the theory of the production and detection of elliptically, circularly, and plane polarized lights and all. And moving towards the last session, in this class, we are going to discuss optical activity, description about optical active materials, what is specific rotation. Then we'll discuss application of optical activity and instrument. We'll just go through an instrument that is polarimeter, and this instrument is you have to do your practicals with this instrument during your 5th and 6th semester practicals. Okay, so the portion is optical activity. Optical activity is from the name itself, it is something related to light. And what do you mean by optical activity? When a plane polarized light passes through certain materials, what happens? The plane in which the electric field vectors exist undergoes certain rotation through certain angle, such that when it is coming out of the material, the direction of electric field vibration will be in a different direction from the beginning, as compared to from the beginning. Or we can say that the plane of vibration of the light gets rotated through an angle when a plane polarized light passes through certain materials. That is, when a plane polarized light passes through certain material, the plane of vibration of the light get rotated through certain angles. And this property of the material to rotate the plane of vibration of the light through certain angle is called optical activity. And the materials exhibiting optical activity is known as optically active materials. And examples of optically active materials are quartz, sugar crystal, sugar solution, quinine in alcohol, turpentine, etc. So materials can rotate the plane of vibration in clockwise direction. That is, electric field vector can change continuously in clockwise direction, or it can move in anti-clockwise direction. The materials that can rotate the plane of vibration towards the right, when viewed against the direction of light, is called dextrorotatory. That is, when we are viewing the light coming towards you from the front, when you feel the electric field vectors are moving towards right, then such materials are called dextrorotatory. Examples are cane sugar, salt, sodium chloride, glucose, etc. Some substances, on the other hand, can make the rotation towards the left when viewed against the direction of light. Such materials are called levorotatory, and examples are fruit, sugar, turpentine, fructose, etc. And you can see that is the plane of vibration moving towards right, dextrorotatory. An example is D amino acids, and similarly plane of vibration moving towards left, indicating levorotatory materials, L amino acids, etc. So we are going to study a new term also. The angle of rotation, the angle through which the electric field vector or plane of vibration rotate, normally depends on some factors. So we are going to discuss what are the factors. The light, that is the plane polarized light, is passing through an optically active medium. And the rotation, the angle of rotation depends upon the length of the optically active medium. And it depends upon the concentration of the optically active substance. And it depends upon the wavelength of the light, and it also depends upon the temperature of the solution. Okay, that is the rotation produced. Angle of rotation is dependent on 4 factors, mainly length, concentration, wavelength, and temperature. For a given temperature and wavelength, that is when we are keeping the temperature and wavelength constant, that is for a single source of light at a constant temperature, the angle of rotation is directly proportional to the length of the optically active medium and concentration of the optically active substance. I can say theta is proportional to L into C. To remove the proportionality constant, I introduced a constant which is known as proportionality. We introduce a constant known as S, and this S is called the specific rotation. And you can define specific rotation as the rotation produced by 10 centimeter long column of solution having concentration 1 gram per cc. When light is passed through a solution or a 10 centimeter long column of solution having concentration 1 gram per cc, then the specific rotation is defined as S is equal to theta. That is, when length is expressed in centimeter, I have the expression. Normally, we express the length in decimeter. When we are expressing it in centimeter, I can write it as theta is equal to what? I have wrote it here. Theta is equal to SL into C. And basically the length is always in this particular case, length is always represented in decimeter, that is 10 centimeter length column. Always we use as a standard to be a 10 centimeter length column. And if you are trying to express the length in centimeter, means I'll have to write 1 by 10, right? Decimeter, we have to convert decimeter into centimeter. So I have theta is equal to SLC by 10 in terms of centimeter. From that I can find out specific rotation, and specific rotation becomes equal to the angle through which the plane of vibration is rotated when light is allowed to pass through 10 centimeter long column of optically active solution having concentration 1 gram per cc. Okay, so hope you have understood what is specific rotation. This equation is very important. A lot of problems are discussed from this equation, and for exams also from this part normally problems are asked with this equation. Okay, so you just note it down in your notebook, just put a column and just mark it as important equation. Okay, so next is the application of optical activity. That is an instrument that we use continuously or rigorously many experiments, and you have this experiment of polarimeter to find out the specific rotation of certain solutions for your UG final year practical paper. So this is what the polarimeter looks like. Basically it will be a tube and you cannot see anything outside, and the polarimeter consists of a light source, and this light source will be basically what? Unpolarized light. You can see vibrations along all directions indicating an unpolarized light. And this unpolarized light is allowed to pass through a polarizer. What happens? This is the optic axis of polarizer. So this polarizer transmits only the vibrations which is parallel to the optic axis, that is will be in the vertical direction. So what happens is that this unpolarized light on passing through the polarizer get plane polarized with its vibration in this direction. And this polarizer is fixed and it cannot rotate. And this polarized light is allowed to pass through a polarimeter tube. And you can take this polarimeter tube out of the polarimeter, and in this tube we generally fill the solution, that is optically active solution. And this tube, and what happens, we fill the polarimeter tube with the optically active solution. What happens? The vibration of electric field is in this direction, and passing through it gets shifted in this direction. Okay, and now we have another polarimeter, and it is another polarizer which is do the job of analyzing the light, and it is called analyzer, and this analyzer is attached to a circular scale. And we basically, what you do with this experiment is you just look, and here you look through this analyzer first without filling this tube with optically active solution. So you can see the illumination, you can see the electric field vector vibration which passes through, such that you get a bright illuminated region. So we'll mark it as something, if it is 90 degree, I'll mark it there. If the position of the scale attached to it reads 90 degree. And after filling, what happens? You won't get that same illumination. It is because the electric field vector direction has been rotated. So what you have to do is you'll have to rotate this, the analyzer continuously, such that we'll stop at a position such that you get the illumination as before. That means the optic axis of this analyzer will be parallel to the electric field vibrations in this direction. So you'll get two angles from here. The first one, suppose it is 90 degrees, second one is 95 degree. You'll get a change theta. So theta is the angle through which the optically active material have rotated the plane of vibration of the incident plane polarized light. This is what the basic of polarimeter says. But it is not actually what's happening when we go to an instrumental level, and you will discuss the instrument in detail. I've given the same picture of what you have to study in your text. What is polarimeter? It is an instrument used for determining the optical rotation of solution, and it is also used for determining the quantity of sugar basically in the labs and all. And in such a case, it is used if it is used for obtaining the concentration of sugar in a solution, that polarimeter is known as a saccharimeter. So polarimeter, we'll move to the construction. This question is generally asked as an essay question. If it is asked as an essay question, you'll have to write what is polarimeter, you'll have to write the construction of it, you'll have to write the experimental arrangement, and everything should be written in detail. Okay. So a polarimeter consists of a convex lens. It will be having a source of light. To make the light parallel, generally a lens will be used, and this lens is allowed, light coming out of the lens is allowed to pass, it will be normally unpolarized light, and it is allowed to pass through first Nicol prism, and this Nicol prism act as a polarizer so as to produce plain polarized light. And here one more thing is added. At an instrument level, we haven't discussed it in the beginning, and this is called half-shade plate. So normally a question will arise from you. So why we are using this half-shade plate? It is such that we are using this place to know exactly what is the bright maximum illuminated position, or to understand what is the maximum dark position when we are analyzing the light with the help of an analyzer by rotating the second Nicol prism. Okay, so analyze which is the maximum dark position or which is the maximum bright position, we use this half shade plate, and you'll discuss the half shade plate in detail. Okay, so in the construction part, we need a source of light, a lens to make it parallel, the first Nicol prism which act as polarizer, which make the incident light plane polarized. Then there will be a half shade plate. Then there will be polarimeter tube in which we fill the solution. After the polarimeter tube, there will be another Nicol prism which is attached to a circular scale, and this Nicol prism acts as analyzer, and you will observe it with the help of a telescope. The light which is coming out will be analyzed with the help of a telescope. So this is what the construction part says. So next, moving to the experimental arrangements, we have a monochromatic source kept in front of a convex lens. Light from the monochromatic source is rendered parallel with the lens. It is passed through the Nicol prism 1, which acts as a polarizer, producing plain polarized light. This polarized light is passed through half shade plate, polarimeter glass tube, Nicol prism N2. The final image is viewed through the eyepiece of the telescope. Looking through the eyepiece T, the analyzer is rotated until both halves of the half shade plate are equally dark. The reading on the circular scale of the analyzer is noted as θ1 before filling the tube with optically active solution. So it is always made dark. It is a basic convention to make the field of view dark, because it is very difficult to identify which position gives you the maximum intensity. If you are just going on looking through the eyepiece, it will be very difficult for the eyes to differentiate between the less maximum position, or which is the maximum intensity position, or which is like near maximum intensity. Going for the complete darkness is very easy. So we'll always choose the position where the analyzer and the polarizer are crossed, and this position gives you the maximum darkness position. So as a convention we follow always, if you are trying the bright position also, it will give you the good result. But the thing is that it is very difficult to identify the correct bright position. So it is better always to understand the dark position. So the first dark position will be maintained as or read as theta 1 from the circular scale. And at this position, the two unequal prism N1 and N2 are perpendicular to each other, such that the light which is passed through N1 won't pass through the second equal N2. So that's why the field of view is dark. Now what happens? Now we fill this glass tube with optical active solution. So the light, the plane of vibration of the light get rotated. So again, if you are looking at with the same angle, will not get the dark position. The position might be changed because of the rotation of the plane of vibration of the light. Now we'll again rotate the analyzer so as to get the completely dark position again. This position again gives the complete perpendicular positions of N1 and N2. We'll measure this position as theta 2. So we'll get two angles, theta 1 and theta 2, and theta 1 minus theta 2 give you the rotation in degrees. Now what you are doing basically in your experiment in your lab, you vary the concentration of sugar solution. That will be 1 gram per cc, 2 gram per cc, 3 gram per cc, 4 gram per cc. For each of this concentration, we find the angle of rotation. And normally you'll get a linear trend. And we draw the graph. And from this graph, if you are obtaining the slope from this, you'll get d theta by dc. And from this d theta by dc from the graph, it gets substituted here, multiply it with 10 and divide it with the length of the polarimeter tube that you will get from the instrument itself. You can measure the length of the tube with which you fill the optically active solution. From this you can obtain the specific rotation of the solution at a given temperature and for a given wavelength of light. This is what you're going to do, how you're going to do this experiment in the lab. So there will be still a doubt in you, what is actually this half shade plate? So we are going to discuss the half shade plate that is always used in a polarimeter. The name of the half shade plate is Lorentz half shade plate, named after the scientist who fabricated this one, that is the Lorentz half shade plate. So we'll discuss the half shade plate and its working in detail. It consists of a semicircular quartz plate. A semicircular quartz plate ACB, and this part is made up of quartz. It is actually a completely circular material, but half of it is made of quartz and it is named as ACB. Another half is made of glass and it is named as ADB. And the line of separation of the glass and the quartz is named as AB. Thickness of the quartz plate is adjusted such that it introduced, and the quartz is basically a bifringent material. It is an optically active material, and it is a doubly refracting material. So the thickness of the quartz is adjusted such that it introduces a phase difference between the E ray and O ray passing through it. Phase difference is introduced is 180 degree, that is pi. Pi phase difference is produced when there is a path difference of lambda by 2. Hence, the name of the wave plate that we use here is half wave plate. Pi 180 degree phase difference corresponds to a path difference of lambda by 2, indicating that we are using a half wave plate. The quartz here used is half wave plate. And the thickness of the glass plate is also adjusted such that it absorbs or transmits the same amount of light as it is done by the quartz. Thickness of the glass is adjusted such that it absorbs or transmits the same amount of light as it is done by the quartz. Now plane polarized light is allowed to pass on this or fall on this half shade plate. So what happens naturally? One half of the light passes through the quartz ACB and another half passes through the glass plate ADB. So initially we assume that the initial direction of the vibration of the plane polarized light or electric field is along OP. When it strikes the half shade plate. Suppose the light plane polarized light striking the half shade plate after coming through the polarizer, which is the first Nicol prism, is such that its electric field vector is in the direction OP. So through glass it follows the same direction, OP itself. But when it enter to quartz, what happens? This OP get what? Separated into ordinary ray and extraordinary ray with components along OD and OA. Okay, and this ordinary vibrations are along OD and extraordinary vibrations are along OA. Okay, and when these vibrations along OD and OA, this split is occurring in the quartz region, quartz plate. What happens? This quartz introduces a phase difference of pi between the ordinary and extraordinary ray, which we can mark as this ordinary ray along OD get undergo pi phase shift, 180-degree phase shift. OD undergoing 180-degree phase shift means it reaches OC, right? OD undergoing 180-degree phase difference. OD is represented as the ordinary ray. Ordinary ray undergoes a phase difference of 180 degree. This angle gives you the phase difference of 180 degree. So OD gets rotated to OC. So what happens? The ordinary ray component is along OA and the extraordinary ray component is along OA and the ordinary ray is along OC. So its resultant will be shifted to OQ. So light which is coming incidenting was along the direction OP and the light which is coming out of the quartz will be along OQ, such that a total rotation produced in the light is, if this angle is theta, the total rotation will be 2 theta. And when we are looking this light with the analyzer, that is the Nicol prism 2, such that the Nicol prism, optic axis of the Nicol prism 2 is kept parallel to OP. What happens? You get this ADB region high illumination or maximum illumination, and the region ACB will be dark, the region ADB will be bright. Again, we are rotating the analyzer Nicol prism such that the optic axis is kept parallel to OQ. What happens? The region ACB will be bright and the region ADB will be dark. Again, I can keep the Nicol prism 2, that is analyzer 2, such that the optic axis of the analyzer is parallel to AB. Then what happens? Both this region of both quartz and glass plate will be uniformly illuminated, since we are keeping it along the middle of both. Now we have another position, that is keeping the optic axis of the Nicol prism parallel to CD. What happens? There will be complete darkness for the both half-shade plates, both halves of the half-shade plates. And this is the position that we generally use to measure the angle of rotation. We'll keep first the analyzer prism parallel to CD, so as to get the maximum darkness first, without filling the polarity tube with the optical active solution, and we'll measure that position or that angle as theta1. Next, we'll fill the polarimeter tube with the optically active sugar solution. So normally what happens? It get rotated. So again the analyzer will be rotated such that the Nicol prism is kept parallel to this CD so as to get the maximum darkness position, and that angle is measured as theta2, and the difference between theta2 and theta1 gives the optical rotation or the optical rotation theta of the solution. So hope you have understood. You go through this class, read the text, and if you have still doubt, you come to me personally. It is a very easy conceptually, but some of you generally feel difficult in understanding what is happening basically in the half-shade plate. So you go through it, hear the class once more, 2 or 3 times if it is necessary. Then you go through the text, read it well, then ask me the queries. And in this slide, some example problems are also given. That is, a sugar solution with a specific concentration 0.2 gram per centimeter cube contained in a tube of length 18 centimeters rotates the plane of polarization by 23.4 degrees. Calculate the specific rotation. Just simply substituting S is equal to 10 theta by LC gives you the specific rotatory power, that is 65 degrees. Similarly, some problems are discussed here. You just write down these problems to the note. Everything is solved here. It is very easy for you to understand. I'll send you this PPT of this whole portion in the Google Classroom. So you can look it out from there. You go through these problems also. Nothing difficult in there. Simply substitution. S is equal to 10 theta by LC. Finding concentration, finding angle theta, finding length, finding specific rotation and okay. So, and this is basically one of the instrument, polarimeter instrument. In the lab, we are using a different instrument. This is the instrument. You can see the pics of this polarimeter instruments inside. And there are some questions. What you have to do is you just take your optics notebook, write the answer to this question. How a Nicol prism is constructed? What is optic axis? What is quarter wave plate? What is elliptical polarization? What is circular polarization? How to identify between both? Biaxial, uniaxial crystals. What is optical rotation? And these are the assignment problems that you'll have to submit. And you'll have to submit. I'll give you the date in the Google Classroom. That is the date for submitting. 6, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 problems are there. 19 problems and 6 self-check questions are there. Try to answer it all, write down in your notebook and send the photographs of your problems in the Google Classroom. If you find any difficulty in solving the problems or if you're not getting the answers as given here, you just contact with your peers, have a peer discussion. After peer discussion also it is not resolved, you can come to me and you can discuss. So this is all about our second chapter. And in the next class, we'll discuss the third chapter, fiber optics, and fourth chapter, holography. And after submission of assignment, we'll have an exam test paper on this first two chapters, Fermat's principle and polarization. So keep in touch. Thank you.